The veiled Nirvana, the scent of dying petals. The smell of dried picoon flowers was supposed to be the scent of sanctity. In the old temples of Ayutthaya, these tiny star-shaped blossoms were scattered to invite the devas, their fragrance a bridge between the mortal and the divine. But in this house, a hulking skeleton of weathered teak perched precariously over a black water canal. The scent was wrong. It didn't smell of heaven. It smelled of a shroud draped over a secret that had begun to rot. Art wiped the sweat from his brow, his fingers trembling. The heat was a physical weight, thick with humidity and the drone of cicadas that sounded like a million tiny serrated knives grinding together. "Art, the water." The voice came from the center of the room, a dry rasp that sounded like dead leaves skittering across a grave. His grandfather, Luong Ta-un, lay on a raised platform of polished wood. Once a man of great spiritual standing, he was now a husk. His skin was the color of old parchment, pulled so tight over his ribs that they looked like the hull of a wrecked ship. "I'm coming, Luong Ta," Art whispered. He moved toward the altar. Atop the intricately carved shelf sat a small bronze bowl filled with Nam Mon, consecrated water. Beside it was a smaller, blackened ceramic vial that his grandfather called the face-washing water. Art had been warned since the day he arrived. This water is the boundary. It is the veil. Do not let a single drop touch the earth. Do not let it touch your skin. Art reached for the vial. His eyes were heavy from 3 weeks of sleepless vigils. The flickering light of the coconut oil lamp cast long, dancing shadows against the walls, shadows that seemed to have a life of their own, stretching and reaching toward the bed. As he lifted the vial, a sudden chill, sharp and impossible in the Thai heat, jolted through his arm. His hand jerked. Time seemed to slow. A single pearlescent drop escaped the rim of the vial. It tumbled through the air, reflecting the amber flame of the lamp, and landed with a sickeningly clear plink into the large basin of som poi, the acacia leaf water used for cleansing the sick. The silence that followed was absolute. Even the cicadas stopped. Then the smell changed. The sweet picoon flowers vanished, replaced instantly by the copper tang of blood and the stench of swamp mud that never seen the sun.
"You've broken it," Luong Ta-un hissed. He didn't move, but his eyes snapped open. They weren't the clouded eyes of a dying man. They were sharp, predatory, and filled with a terrifying, lucid fear. "The ward is down, Art. The debt collector can see the light now." I'm sorry, Luong Ta. It was just one drop." "One drop is a bridge," the old man coughed, a wet, rattling sound. "Listen to me. The rules have changed. He is coming for the harvest. If you hear me calling your name from the shadows, do not answer. If you see your reflection in that basin, look away before 3 seconds pass. If you don't, you will see what we really are." Art backed away, his heart hammering against his ribs like a trapped bird. He looked toward the open veranda. Outside, the moon was a sickly yellow coin. At the edge of the canal, silhouettes began to emerge. They were the villagers Art had seen every day. Uncle San, the undertaker, Auntie Chan from the grocery stall. But they weren't moving like people. They stood in a perfect, rigid line, their faces turned toward the house. Art squinted, his breath catching in his throat. Under the moonlight, their eyes weren't dark. They were solid, milky white, dead stones set into living faces. Their mouths began to move in a silent, rhythmic chant, a collective vibration that Art could feel in the soles of his feet. "Art, come down here, son." Art froze. The voice came from beneath the floorboards, from the dark, damp space of the Thai tune. It was Luong Ta's voice, the kind, gentle version from Art's childhood. "Art, my legs, I've fallen.
Help me up." Art looked at the bed. Luang Ta'un was right there, his chest heaving, his eyes fixed on the ceiling. "Don't answer," the man on the bed whispered, though his lips barely moved. "But you're right here," Art stammered, his mind fracturing. "How is your voice down there?" "Because the Reclaimer has your name now, and he knows exactly what you want to hear." A heavy thud echoed from the stairs, then another. Thump, drag, thump, drag. Something was climbing the steps, something heavy, wet, and ancient. Art looked at his hands. He noticed a dark stain beneath his fingernails. It wasn't dirt. It looked like gray clay, the kind used to mold statues. He tried to rub it off, but the skin peeled away with it, revealing not blood, but dry, golden straw. Panic, cold and suffocating, rose in his throat. He looked at the basin of water on the floor, the one tainted by the forbidden drop. Against his grandfather's warning, he looked at his reflection. He didn't see a man in his 30s. In the rippling water, he saw a hollow frame of bamboo and twine, plastered with graveyard soil and animated by flickering red sparks where a heart should be. Behind the reflection of the effigy, he saw the image of Luang Ta, young and vibrant, reaching out from the water to pull Art's skin over his own. "You aren't my grandson," the voice from the bed said, now strong and resonant. Luang Ta-un stood up, his physical decay falling away like a discarded garment. "I gave you memories of the city. I gave you a life of shadows, all so you would return to me when my debt was due." The door to the room creaked open. A towering figure stood there, draped in the tattered black robes of a forest monk who had died a century ago. It had no face, only a swirling void of charcoal smoke. The Reclaimer, the karmic debt of a lineage that had stolen souls to prolong their own lives. The entity didn't look at Luang Ta. It looked at Art, or rather, it looked at the vessel that was supposed to hold Luang Ta's soul. "The cycle ends." The entity's voice vibrated through the room, sounding like grinding stones. Art looked at his grandfather, who was already stepping toward the window, ready to vanish into the night in Art's young body. "No," Art whispered, his voice cracking like dry wood. He looked at the clay in his veins and the straw in his chest. If he was a tool, he was a tool built of his grandfather's own blood and malice. He didn't run. He lunged. Art grabbed the basin of tainted water and threw it, not at the entity, but across the threshold of the door, breaking the final circle of protection. "If I am the vessel," Art roared, his voice merging with the wails of the white-eyed villagers outside, "then I am the one who stays." He tackled the rejuvenated Luang Pa, pinning him to the floor as the coconut lamp flickered out. In the absolute darkness, the Reclaimer's cold, misty hands reached out, wrapping around both of them, the Creator and the creation, bound together by a debt that could only be paid in eternal stillness. The ending. The house by the canal still stands. The villagers avoid it, claiming the scent of picun flowers there is so strong it can choke a person. Sometimes, when the moon is yellow and the canal is still, you can see a figure sitting on the veranda. He looks like a young man, but his movements are stiff, jerky. If you look closely, you'll see that his skin is cracked, revealing the straw and clay beneath. He is waiting. He is the guardian of a hollow Nirvana, holding his grandfather's soul captive within his own decaying frame, ensuring that the debt is never forgotten and the veil is never lifted again.